Yeah.
They're on the cusp of a lot of work, which is good. Then we could offer a little less and hope for the best. Doug's
Yeah.
gonna shoot over any of
Yeah.
his things.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, do you have time to go to
Hi. Where's the what?
Guys, if you wouldn't mind signing this, I would appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right, you guys ready? Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. So I'm filling in for Jeremy today. He's a little under the weather. Jeremy, if you're watching, we hope you feel better. Get well soon so you can come back. But we're starting our investor series, continuing our investor series with our special guest today, Justin Bresson.
How you doing?
That's it.
Yeah.
Cool. So before we get kind of started, just want to learn, I don't think some of the people, maybe some don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Tell us a little background on you, how long you've been in real estate, where'd you come from, all that kind of
Yeah. So I grew up in Balkenwood, so I've been around here forever. And after college, I got a job doing something boring for about 3 years. I didn't really like it, so I got my real estate license. And
What were you doing?
I was doing marketing for a heat exchanger plumbing repair company in Lansdale. So it was either I was at a turning point. I either needed to move to Lansdale and make that my career, or I needed to find a new career. So I took the real estate classes in a month. I did them Tuesday nights, Monday, Wednesdays was one, and then Tuesday, Thursdays were the other one. So I got them all done in a month and got a job as somebody's assistant, quit that life and moved into the city and started out, in 2008 when it was the worst ever. And everybody would say what are you doing? And I was just this is the best I've ever seen it, just because I had no idea. It wasn't until 2011 maybe where I ran into another real estate agent while showing a property. But before then it was just always me, and no one else, there was no one was buying anything. But I bought my first property in probably 2010. It was a rental property that me and two roommates were living in that was falling apart. And after bothering our landlord enough to repair it and him ignoring my requests, I asked him if he'd rather just sell it to me. And he said, make me an offer. I did, and we came to terms, and now my roommates became my tenants. And then I kind of just used those same dollar bills over and over again to.
So we're
Yeah,
gonna get to that.
Yeah.
So quickly, there's no such thing as a dumb question. So he owns how many properties do you own?
So I have 40 units over about 10 or 12 properties.
40 units.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get how he got there. What do you want to get out of today? No such thing as a dumb question.
I
Jenna?
just don't even know how to begin something
Okay.
like this. I feel
So-
tight with my money, with everything I'm spending on my business with,
Yep,
you know,
So how to-
buyers,
how to
buyers
begin?
and sellers.
yep,
I just want to sell.
it's okay.
And like every other week, how to best find deals.
How
You
to
may have
find
the
them.
money or find the money, but how do you find the deals?
Okay. What else you got?
Can somebody grab me a better one?
Which areas have seen the best return over the past 10, 15 years of years investing? The best areas.
Best area of return.
When to keep one and when to flip it.
Okay, so when the hold, when the flip. What else?
Selecting contractors.
Selecting contractors. Well, give me 5 more.
Like your specific criteria of what you look for?
Mhm.
Let me see if I can get it back over.
There we go.
Throw out their financing. That should be enough to cover. Cool. And if we think of anything else, just shout it out again. So where to begin? So you just started to go into that. Tell us a little more.
Well, my grandfather co-signed on the loan on my first property because I was like, 3 years into real estate and you need 2 years of income,
Yep.
which like didn't look very good for me. So fast forwarding, but not getting ahead. One of my proudest things as I've grown the portfolio was when I refinanced that property and took him off of it. But so that property, we bought that and I fixed it up and then did eventually then I bought something else before I refied him out of that one. But I actually I feel like as I talk through this, some of the questions come up I think finding properties is, and I don't do this as much now as I used to, and I need to get back into it, but the only thing you have control over is what you pay for the property, because you can choose to buy it or not depending on if the numbers make sense. But when it comes to building out and all that stuff, that's out of my control because that's not my expertise. And we used to just mail letters, not like I would mail 200 letters a month and just talk to neighbors. And the letter just said, well, my wife's here, she's my partner and all that stuff, and our kid's home to playing hooky day. But the letter used to be, my girlfriend and I want to buy your property, and then it was my wife and I want to buy your property, and I would pull all the addresses off of Bright in the areas I want to be in and just mail them letters. And then, you'd get phone calls back like, F you, thanks for taking the time to call me just to curse me out. But, you'd find people that are ready to sell, and you just talk to them, nurture relationships. We bought something in July of 2021, and we met that family maybe 4 years before, and just, stayed in touch and nurtured that relationship. And when it was time for them to sell, we were their first call,
You get stuff on the MLS though too.
Yeah, so I do have a couple of things on the MLS, but I think that the best stuff is not on the MLS. And I think when looking on them, actually one of the third place I bought was a McCann listing, and that was on the MLS. And like that, when I go to the MLS, I kind of search at least 100 days on the market, and the same thing I tell my buyers. I tell them that if I can present an offer with a straight face, I don't care what the list price is. That's just a made up number, So I like to find things that have been just lingering on the market and just make up whatever I want to pay for it that I think is reasonable. And, the worst they can say is no. So
I'm not going to continue.
Yeah.
But we had one client where Jim was sending out 30 offers a day.
Yeah.
Just going 40 in the MLS, just going 40% below market. We capture 1 or 2 out of 100.
yeah,
Guy ended up buying 80 properties, and in the last 2 years, he sold all of them.
yeah.
But so, and I often encourage just making a low offer, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the only thing, I genuinely think that's really the only thing you have control over. Construction numbers are the same, you can pinch them here and there, but if you can get a property at a good price, it's going to make the opportunity to work no matter what the construction numbers are, because those aren't going to change as much. But if you can't get the property at the right price, you're not going to really be able to save on your construction numbers. So that's really, I think, I just look at that as the only thing I really have the most control over is what I pay for the property.
Are you a single family or multi?
So we have more. I'm trying to only buy multis now, but I started out with single family. So triplexes are. I have a 10-unit project and a 8-unit right now, and I have another 7-unit and a couple triplexes.
Your first dozen were they single family?
Yeah. So it all started, like I had 5 properties on Dane Street, and then like we've sold off 3 of them.
So let's start
Yeah.
back at the beginning.
Okay.
So the very first property was you and a roommate, you said?
Yeah, so I mean, I had 2 roommates, and then I bought the property from the landlord because like literally there's just like gaps in the like it was just the place was a mess. I mean, our rent was like it was like nothing, and it was great for me at the time, but
Where was it?
19th and Naudine.
Okay.
And then I bought that. I added value to it. I took cash out of it. I bought a really like a single family in like Fishtown for like 50 grand, and I renovated that myself.
So
Like,
I don't want to move past the
yeah.
first property.
Okay, sorry.
So the first property, you and a couple of roommates, do you remember how much money you put up at that time? 'Cause Nancy was saying.
$25,000,
25.
and like 13,000 of that was from selling my car
Okay.
because I moved to the city. And I didn't even need a car anymore. I just didn't feel like car share, and I just put it in the house.
So did you guys all own it together? Or was
No.
it just
That,
you
I
and
bought
your
it.
grandfather?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was all me and
Okay.
and his ink.
Got it.
And they I didn't raise their rent, but they now cover my mortgage payment. Yeah.
Good. So leverage to other people.
Yep.
Sounds like.
Yeah, and that was it was a primary residence. I bought it in my own name, and I had a 30-year fixed mortgage on it. And then so that was that, and then I went and bought the next one.
So you refied? You
Yeah.
refied out, cashed out. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So it's they'll lend you up to X on the LTV of the property. So if you add, everything I buy is value add. So I think that's like if you listen like Bigger Pockets, it's like BRRRR, buy, renovate, rent, refi, or something like that. But
Yeah.
so that's and I always look at that as like it's like the same dollar bills used over and over again. So I did the same thing in Fishtown with a small single family. That one I renovated it myself and Liza. Like I literally just did like I tiled the surround in the bathroom. I tiled the floor in the bathroom and demoed it with like some guy we found on Craigslist who showed up and like had to take a screwdriver out of his ignition. So like I don't even want to know where the car came from, but like I generally think that like your business will get to you'll grow to a point where you can't like finagle things as easily when you're just starting. That like the majority of the single families I don't own in LLCs, and everyone says you're supposed to own an LLC, but I have 30-year fixed mortgages on them, right? So like I don't have to ever think about those properties again, and I'm not gonna have to worry about like a balloon payment, once I or I can decide if I decide to refi or where rates are at, but they're like stabilized and now just pay me rent.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So you were using your own, your grandfather's signs,
Yeah.
you're using, in a sense, your own money. In this present day, are you still using your own money, or are you using other people's money?
Still using my own money. I think I could own a lot more if I used other people's money, but I would own just fractions of the stuff I own. So like we are like barely starting to like use money from like we put every penny back into the properties into the business. Like the Fresh Places real estate team and like what we're growing there, and that side is like where we like live and like do all that stuff, and then the properties, which we call like Franklin Penn, is just it's its own thing, and it just goes back. Every penny goes back into it. Like that's like hard, like sometimes, and then like I like to try and just think about like the rent if I didn't have like debt on stuff, and like I'll enjoy that stuff later. But
And do you handle all your own tenants?
yes, so we use Tenant Cloud, and it's $75 a month. They pay everything online. They can like the only thing we've implemented Tenant Cloud about like a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I feel like I'm getting more maintenance requests now than we used to because it's just like easier to communicate. which is actually good. Like you don't want those, but I would rather someone tells me their roof's leaking instead of not telling me for 2 years and like their roof's collapsing, you know.
So, okay.
So you're not using a management company at all, you're running around fixing all of these places?
So we have like a handyman guy that is like, that's the best hire. And like, yeah, so, yeah.
And to add on to that, one more question, I'm so sorry.
No, please, that's why we're here, right? Let's go, yeah.
So my question is, are you, the best way to make money off of these kind of properties, of course, is to keep the tenants in for a really long time, not to have these constant turnovers. So is there anything you're doing specifically to keep your tenants for a longer time?
Just spend more time finding tenants. You know, so I think that our rents aren't the highest rents. Like I'd rather have happy tenants. I'd rather have $100 less a month than like the most expensive tenant, you know? And I want to, you know, like we don't outsource leasing. So like, fortunately, we're still at a point where we're meeting people and like we're getting like know who's moving in our places, and like they, you know, sometimes become friends, you know, a lot of times I sell them a house later, like, you know, it's and then like when we lived down in Center City, we lived on Naudain and we had properties on Naudain, like I just walk by them all the time. So like, it's almost important that they're like, you have good relationships with your tenants, you know? And that's like, that's your clients, you know? So it's just, I think I'd rather a property sit vacant for an extra month to find the right person than just get something leased.
Cool. So, now you own a second property. Did you have a goal? Like say, I want to purchase 3 this year, or was it just like, I see a deal and I capitalize on it?
It was 2 a year was the goal. And then it became 10 units a year. But initially it was 2 a year, which is what like mentor type guy told me he had as his goal. So I was like, that sounds like a good idea.
Okay. So how do you, so the
Find
question 2, yeah, finding the deal.
Yeah, so
and I know we talked a little
yeah.
bit about the MLS, but I know you sent letters. Is there anything else you do?
Just talking to people, you know, like buying stuff, you know, a couple places have been just buying stuff on the block I lived on, you know. So it's really like, I think that you just have to wander around. I don't know, like, it sounds like ridiculous, but it's just being out and present. And like, you know, we own something in Ardmore and I really want to buy the place next door to it. And I talk to that guy every day, you know. Maybe I said too much information because we don't have that yet, but.
So just following up like you do your real estate business.
Yeah, yeah. And like, you know, I think from a value add point, you know, it's same back to real estate. It's like, you know, it's like the old bold thing, pain versus pleasure script. Like my target seller is at the point in where they own the property where they can either cash out of it or they have to invest back into it, you know? So for them, what would they rather make, you know, $500,000, $1 million, or would they have to put $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 into the property? And, you know, I'm willing and ready to do that stuff. So there's a win-win opportunity for that right person.
The ones that you sold, what was your thought process there as opposed to holding on to them? Why would you sell the ones that you sold?
So, you know, different circumstances, like selling, we sold one because it's just such a freaking headache. And like we bought it as an Airbnb and it was great as an Airbnb when we bought it, which was like our first weekend was like Pope weekend. And like I set all the stuff up on Airbnb and we're like in Target, like buying like hand towels, and I got like a ding for someone to like want to rent it. We're like, woohoo, you know? And that was great for like 2 years, but we were turning that over ourselves, you know? So like we had low overhead, but I was in like the Rittenhouse area and the market got really saturated with Airbnbs and it was no longer attractive. So we put a long-term tenant in there, and that like we ended up selling that because we bought a triplex nearby and we wanted to just, you know, like we bought the triplex with like, you know, money we weren't really prepared to put in the triplex. So then we backfilled that money by selling Rodman. Yeah.
What would you say like the big benefit for you is like buying off market? Is it like price, terms, lack of competition?
All of the above? Yeah. Yeah. So like I think that you get to, I think that if I can get my foot in the door with somebody, I'm gonna beat out anybody else in having the opportunity to buy it at a fair price if other people are trying to pay a fair price, just because I'm genuinely not going to try and really rip somebody off, you know? So like they pick up on the sincerity. I'm talking to them face to face. Like I just think that, you know, like there's a place we have in Fishtown and it took probably like 2 years. And actually it's really sad because we were working with the son and, this is another side tangent. You got to tell me when I'm supposed to stop. But, we were working with the son and it was him and his sister and their parents had owned the property and their mother was the seller, and we're at the settlement table and there was an issue with the certificate of occupancy because they were selling us a 7-unit building, but on paper it was like 4 units with like a commercial thing, and like literally the mortgage lender just got up and walked out of the room, and it took another 6 months for it to finally close, and the mom had passed away during that time. So then like it became like estates. I mean, it didn't change any of the terms, but it was just like, you know, like, but I remember walking through that property and I said to the guy, I forget his name, but like, I was like, I'm your buyer, you know, like, I was like, it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, but like, I was like, we're like, you know, like Liza and I, we're gonna be the ones that buy this place from you when like it's time. Like, just, I know it, and like, we'll get there eventually, you know? And that probably took 2 years for that one. I don't know. Did I answer that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So if you were an agent and you're starting to do a couple million in business, and you were to buy your first investment property, what would you tell someone to do and where?
I would buy it as a primary residence, and I'd put less down but like responsible. Like I'm not the best to talk to about like over leveraging because I'm very conservative with that stuff. But I think I would buy something if I was buying my first property again, and I was in like I would know who my tenants are going to be before I bought it, and I would just move them right in, and I would just do primary residence and get the best long-term rate as possible. And where would it be? Somewhere where I wanted to live, it would be where I wanted to live, and at the same time would have like my tenants would be able to cover my mortgage. You know, like I don't buy anything that doesn't cash flow.
So just you're saying like a duplex or something? Is that what you're talking about? Like,
Duplex is even better. Anything you can buy with as a primary residence.
and you're saying that you live in like one floor and rent out the other?
I mean, I bought my first place at like 26. I just lived in a room, and you know, I had 2 roommates and lived in their rooms. You know, so like I would,
Like a house guy.
yeah, a house, yeah. Like I would just buy anything. I mean, I would like it's like if you anything you're comfortable living in that you can, and if you have buddies and you can just share the rooms, that's great. If the math works on a duplex, that's probably better. But if I did a duplex, if I bought a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, like 2-bed, 2-bath over a 2-bed, 2-bath duplex, I would probably have a roommate with me in one of the 2 bedrooms if I was single, and still rent out the other one. You know, yeah.
So what's a good buy? What's not a good buy? Like what would be something that you would maybe say, no, I'm okay, I'm good.
It has to cash flow. So from, you know, like once it's stabilized, the monthly rent needs to cover taxes, insurance, and those things. You know, I'm not great about like the 2% rule or whatever Burr does on that, or whatever Bigger Pockets does that one. But it's just it's like I don't want to. Once someone lives there, they should be paying for everything, not me. You know, and then I had something else, but now I forget. So it would just be that, and it would be. I also always have Plan Z lined up. So like, if I'm gonna buy this and I want to like, you know, I'm buying it for $200,000 and it needs $100,000 and it's supposed to be worth $400,000 after, but I buy it and I realize that like I can't do any of these things that I want to do. I need to be able to sell it for $225 so I break even. You know, so like there's nothing. I'm not buying anything where like if I go belly up, I'm not gonna be able to sell it and break even. Like that's where I think we are conservative, where it's just like it's not. I look at every deal as like, and I'm not like buying millions of properties and stuff. So like every deal is like I can't. Everything we buy, like I can't screw it. There's no opportunity to screw it up. Like it just doesn't. That's not feasible or for me. You know, I'm not there. I'm not somewhere where I can be like, this will be fun. Let's just like buy this and hopefully it works.
So first
Yeah.
live there for a year, have a room, maybe rent it out, buy another primary residence, right?
Yeah.
But so once you have your primary residence, if you're talking to people here, like, you know what, Jess, I wanna invest, I wanna buy a house, I don't have $1 million, I don't need. And you started off with single families, which, you know, I like too. With, like, what would your criteria be? You know, the area, when you look for appreciation, where you would wanna live yourself and tenants. And just talk to something like that.
I think that my, you know, one of the criteria, I mean, it's just like, I think I'm motivated by the type of tenant I'm getting, you know, so like I want to rent in a place where I know, you know, like we have a lot of, you know, young professionals and meds and eds as tenants, you know, and I love people in like graduate programs or like med school because they come in and they stay for like 3-4 years later. And she did pretty good. How long has it been? Yeah. So I think it's like, for me, it's tenant, like, you know, so like Alan Dom said, like location, 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 you know, like overpay for location. And like, I feel the same way. Like I love stuff in great areas. Like my things don't have like the best returns necessarily, but like properties appreciate and great, I've, you know, reliable, great tenants and stuff, you know, like I don't, one question you asked, I think someone is like flip versus hold. Some of the stuff I'm like, oh, this would be great to flip, and I like do the numbers and I can't flip it. You need to like buy them for, your numbers need to be you have to have a lot more better margins to flip things than you do to rent and hold them.
So the reason I say that, because we have 3, I live in Chester County, we have actually 4, but one is a single family home and it's making great money. It's right near the train station, but we have 3 in a community where there's an HOA, and it's great rent, but that HOA keeps going up. So I say to my husband, let's sell 2 of those, cash out and keep 1 because the tenant's been there 6 years, but buy a couple more where that HOA isn't going up every year.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think HOA condos are kind of like a conservative investment because you have an HOA, but you probably are not paying for someone to mow the lawn or shovel or do things like that, you know? Or like if you have a roof issue, is that your responsibility or the HOA's responsibility?
It depends, you know,
Yeah.
everyone is different.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm surprised at what they don't do.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, when you're paying $450 in
Yeah.
HOA, yeah, it's nice and the money's good, but I'm thinking that's almost $500.
You buy something across the street, not an HOA,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can get somebody to cut the lawn and do some of the things, but my husband and I would do it like you do.
Yeah.
So I'm just.
With a single house, they're responsible for everything, that's why those single houses.
Yeah.
They have to cut the lawn, take the trash out, you know.
And
Not
it's
to be
in.
theirs.
Yeah.
It's in the lease too, that
Yeah.
this is what you're responsible for. I do the fall cleanup, spring cleanup, but they do the maintenance, and they're close to me, I check on them all the time. So like you said, you'd rather get those maintenance costs, because
Yeah.
you see the state of the
Yeah.
house, but I just think it's a lot of money, because by me, there's a lot of
It sounds like
places.
it's not going into much, you're not getting a return on the HOA.
No.
So I mean, I think that you know, so one thing with like when we do the refis, I try and the more buyers like hate me because it's like up until like the last second where I tell them how much money I want to take out, because I feel like I want to keep like example, we had a place that was renting for like $2,500 and then we were able to increase the rent to $2,800. So I only refied out $300 worth of cash to keep my cash flow the same. You know, so like if you can increase the rents, you know, maybe like, you know, I talk people out of selling their house all the time because I'm like, you should keep it and just buy another one if you can, you know, which is like, doesn't work for I don't have many listings probably, but like you know, like if the tenants are paying for it, then it's not that big deal if you can do a cash out or maybe you do a line of credit or something. But I also would know what you want or be confident in what you want exists before selling that, because you don't want to sell it and then just not have it, or if you need to do a 1031 exchange or something, you need, like, that's always like interesting. Yeah.
So tying into, the next thing, contractors, so, and this will tie into something I'm gonna bring up too. With having 40 properties, it seems like you have to have some kind of system in place, right?
Yeah.
We talked about that tenant, what was it, like Q?
Tenant Cloud is
Tenant
is
Cloud.
yeah is our management
That's
system.
for paying and stuff, right?
Yeah.
How do you handle like maintenance? Are you taking calls all hours of the night? Do you have certain boundaries you put in place, or how's that look?
I mean that.
The handyman, is that it?
S-
That's your basic help, your handyman?
Yeah, so yes, our guy Stan, who it's slow right now, so if anyone needs a good handyman or renovation, I'm happy to share him. Yeah, but yeah, like I know, yeah,
Only if you attend this class.
yeah. No,
That was my next question, did you have him as a salary, or?
so like I mean like last year was a crazy year. We probably renovated like 8 places, and he did it all and now so right now like he's like at my house right now fixing something for me, like so like I would love to not have to pay him as much, but he's like a very unique guy. We're lucky to have him, but if he business is like slow, he'll like move to Florida. He's a nomad. He like lives in one of our apartments.
So how do your tenants reach out?
So yeah, so through Tenant Cloud, majority of them just reach out through Tenant Cloud, like, and like it's an easy portal, and they put like a picture of what the problem is, and
And that goes to you, or does it go to Stan?
it goes to Liza and I, and then we tell them that Stan will be there, and coordinate it. Or sometimes I guess some of them talk directly to Stan. Yeah.
What are the most common tenant complaints?
Clocks.
Was it clogs? Yeah. So well, I mean, we had one tenant that like I don't understand if they like understood how like a garbage disposal worked or a dishwasher, because they would clog all the time. And I mean we're like I don't know, they're all like random little things. There's not like one thing that I'm like happens. The unique issue we're having right now is we just renovated this apartment building, and one of the units is like getting a lot of moisture, and we're like thought that there's like a window issue, and we had like the window guy come back out and look at it, and he's like, these vinyl windows are like too good for this old building, which is probably what he says because he sold me the windows, but like there's like like I need to like put some more circulation into the unit because it's like sealed too well or something, which sounds crazy. We need to look further into that one.
When you buy, and speaking of that just brought something up, when you buy the properties, are you bringing Stan, or are you like electing home inspections, you take them as is, like how?
It's whatever the most I can get out of it, I'm going to get out of it, but if it's the right place and the again, that goes back to that like plan Z. Like if I know that I'm paying a good number for it, then I don't care really what's going on, and I think that Stan's not really coming to that. Usually it's just, like sometimes I'm doing a home inspection, sometimes I'm just deciding on my own. Yeah.
Okay.
Just real quick, just go back. So just like if you buy your first house and it's your primary house, and you decide to buy another house, it cannot be your primary house as well, correct? It can. That's what I'm asking. I'm sorry.
We may or may not have had like 4 primary residences at like a time. Yeah.
That's what I was saying, do you keep moving, because I heard you say primary residence.
Yeah.
What did it look like in the beginning, and what does it look like now?
So now it's not a primary residence anymore. Now it's like now we're trying to buy, you can only do it in your name if you're 1 to 4 units. So now that we're trying to buy bigger things, we're, having to do LLCs. But like we bought, but if it's 3, like our only primary residence purchase in the last like 6 years is probably our house we live in. But before that, it was like, I'm writing letters to the bank on why like I'm moving a block away because it's like closer to my work, and I genuinely need to be closer to work. Like, like anything. I think in the beginning, do bend gray areas as much as possible. Like, don't do anything illegal, obviously, right? I'm not advising you to do that, but like, just make it work. Like.
Do you use the same lender?
I did for a while, yeah,
For a while.
yeah.
They hate you, so, because they know.
Yeah, because they know, and then it's easy. Like I think of that lender as like an integral part of me growing, in the relationship I had with them, and then like in the past 3 years we've had a great relationship with a credit union, and I think I feel the same about that bank, But now we'll be curious because we're gonna have 2 loans that we need to deal with in the next 6 months, and I'm curious to see what is gonna happen there or how that's gonna go.
What kind of issues?
So we're we bought an 8-unit right around the corner from here, and we're 75% through construction. I'm using a line of credit for the construction, and it's on a variable rate. And when I purchased the property, I have my primary loan is like 3.75, and I was like, oh, I'll just refi when I'm done. But now rates are 7%, so I can't refi the entire loan because it's going to kill my thing. So I need I want to find, I don't know if this even exists, but I will find or something, someone who does a second. So I'll take a second at 7%, and then I'll have a blended rate in the 5s versus but I can't just do a full cash out refi because my whole loan will be 7 and it'll just kill me.
Have you ever looked at it for a private lender?
I had some conversations, but I'm also a rate snob. I'm not gonna pay. I won't do a deal if I'm paying 10 or 12%. I just don't think anything's worth
No,
it.
I'm saying
Yeah.
maybe, a private lender is losing in the stock market.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that, but if that guy thinks he's gonna clean house with me, then I'm not gonna go to him. But that's but I think those conversations are great conversations to have, and I think they're easy too because it's this math's very simple and straightforward. So sitting down with someone that's logical and reasonable, you can get to a fair place. Yeah.
I think we covered a little bit of criteria, but can you talk a little bit what are you looking for today?
Today, I want 5 to 15 unit buildings that need some TLC. I like Ardmore a lot, actually, and then it's I buy a lot with just heart and gut, So I can walk to Ardmore, so that makes that a good area for me. And I think that it has to be a value add. I think that the product I create is, I like to buy in areas where tenants are motivated by the location, right? So I don't need to compete with the high-end luxury stuff and I don't need all the bells and whistles. I can make beautiful places with nice finishes, but I'm not gonna have a gym, a movie theater, and a business center in a triplex, or a 10-unit building even. So I can make pretty units, and I can put them under market from the luxury stuff, and they'll be just as nice finishes as the units of luxury stuff, but I won't have the bells and whistles, and people are gonna live here anyway. So we are renting out 1 bedrooms on the it's an 8-unit building right on you could, if you were in Suburban Square and it's technically not in Suburban Square, it's 3 properties out of Suburban Square. So it's 8 units. The 1 bedrooms, it's 8 units. We renovated 4. They're leased up, and we're almost finished the second 4. The first 4 1 bedrooms are renting for $1,850 a piece. If you wanted to rent at that Cricket Ave place, it's $2,300 for a 1 bedroom. And my units look just as good as those. I just don't have professional dog walker. Yeah. Yeah. So and people come in, this one girl's just I want to live as close to Trader Joe's as possible. And you can see it out your window, come on in. So yeah, exactly.
I think personally people think they're overpaying for those amenities anyway. They go to the gym. They want to go to a gym, they go to a gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think you have to have those things.
I
agree with you. I think it's more the location than anything else.
Are you putting washers and dryers in the unit, or are you doing coin-ups in the basement and getting money off of that as well?
In unit. I think you're going to see more money from having a wash dryer in unit than.
What's your turnaround time from that purchase and then you start renting the first floor? So all in all, how long will it take for you to?
So that should have been a year and a couple months. We bought it November 16th of 2021. We had the first 4 units rented out with move-in date, delivery dates August 1st. And the second 4 have been slow because the contractor was working on something else for us. So we pulled them off of that to do this other thing, which is our personal kitchen. But
as you kind of said, rent interest rates have doubled in the last year. So how's that changed kind of what you're doing, and how are you pivoting going forward?
It doesn't change anything I'm doing. It just changes my performance, So we put something on our contract in, I don't know, maybe it was over the summer. It was definitely over the middle of the summer, and rates were still kind of low, and we had a 6-month due diligence for whatever reason on something, and rates changed a lot, and I just walked because like that you just wasn't gonna work, you know? And now like I'm still talking to that guy, and like the guy actually just brought up like last week, like, hey, are you still interested in this place? And we're like, let's look at it again, but like subtract $100,000 from the sale price, you know? So,
But you, so just from what I'm getting, so you like to buy value add, you pay 500 for something, put 200 into it, when you're done, that should be worth 900,000. And then you're not looking for cash flow because you're making your living other ways, you're just looking for something that'll carry everything.
Yeah.
So that long term, that will go up 50, 100, 200, 300, 400% over time.
yeah,
Correct?
yeah,
And then you went a little bit below market, so tenants stay in there, and you manage it yourself so that the place doesn't look like a mess.
Yeah.
Because I don't like good management. So, anyway, I just wanted to put that in, which we have a lot in line.
Yeah.
When you've done that property, and it's a difference for me when if I buy it to flip it or renovate it, because when I'm renovating, people just want a nice, clean place. It doesn't need all that, they just need a nice, clean place at a good value.
yeah. And,
For
yeah.
long term.
and they like want people, they want to like, I don't, it's interesting because I think about what's going to happen to us, like when, like our goal is 200 units or something, like I think 200 units at, netting $400 a unit is like $700,000 or something, like, I don't know. But so like, what does that look like for us when right now, like we are very hands-on and we're looking our tenants in the eyes when they're talking about the lease, like how does that going to look when we have so many places and like that, like, yeah, I need another stand. So,
How often do you raise the rents if you do keep a long-term tenant, and what's long-term?
not as much as I should.
Okay, but you
But like
don't have in your contract to.
I just raised somebody's rent for the first time in 3 years because my taxes doubled, and I was just like, look, I got to raise your rent $300 because I raised the rent by $281. I took the difference in the new taxes, and I just divided by 12 and I put it on them, and they're like, of course, happy to,
Just did that with a bunch of my city
Yeah.
properties. It's just so funny, we raised the rent for 3 or 6 years, but with the tax bill, we just did a little explanation. Hey, we're not really raising the rent, but this is our new thing,
Yeah,
you're paying for it.
yeah,
Do you lose anyone?
no, yeah.
But the problem is, I'm the same way.
Well,
Well, okay, they've been with me for 6 years, I only raised the rent once.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because you get the rent and it's easy and you just don't want to. But sometimes, I remember one of my friends saying, he said, Mike, I hear you, he said, but, I always get another 50 or 75 a year because no one's gonna leave over that. And at the end of the day, with all your properties, that adds up. I took that a little bit, but I had tenants with me 20 years that are still paying $900 a rent for a house.
Yeah.
That I could rent for $1,600 today.
Yeah.
But then I'd have to renovate it.
Right.
And like you said, I like the age, I'm sorry, but I like the age where you say, you're buying a property where the guy either has to completely redo it or cash out and take the money from the property.
Yeah.
That's a great.
Here's your seller, right here.
Because guys move out. I think that I could be better about raising rent, but like I don't know. I probably should be like the last lease I wrote in there that like your rent increases $50 annually, and I like wrote it into the lease. And now with like Tenant Cloud, you can like pre-schedule like rent increases, so I could just like put that in there and do it automatically. But like also like we're also not sticklers for like, we don't have anyone that really pays rent late, but like I'm not squeezing, like again, Tenant Cloud can make it more business, and I haven't really utilized that element of it. Like if they don't pay by the 5th, Tenant Cloud will automatically charge them a late fee. But like that would piss me off if I was a tenant. But I don't do that yet.
One thing I do address with cases, washers and dryers, I'm putting them in there working, it's for them to maintain.
Yeah.
Drove me crazy repairing washers and dryers. So I just say, you're having a washer and dryer, but this is yours to maintain.
Yeah, like your lease gets better every tenant.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
Well, the one house I bought a home warranty on it, and so the tenant pays the first $100, then they're selective, and when they call, I want them to call, but if it's a washer that's malfunctioning, you call the warranty company, and then they come out, but they
Yeah.
pay the $100 deductible.
Nice. Do you have your own lease, or do
I just use par lease. Someone once said to me once, if you're gonna get like sued by like in tenant landlord court, if you're using like the par lease, you probably have a better chance with the judge than like if you're making up and manipulating some obnoxiously like unique lease that totally protects you. I don't know.
On the topic of the lease, is there anything, in all your years doing this, that maybe you didn't put one time or you made a mistake on that kicked you later, and now you like say, I'm implementing this now?
Pets,
Just like so I don't like pets really,
Yeah.
but
and they sneak them in.
but then
Dogs-
yeah,
Dogs nowadays, it's unbelievable.
yeah. Well, like this is like, well, so someone, it's like I had someone that like asked to have an animal, and they're like, okay, fine, and then like they're like, oh, my dad got me a puppy as a surprise, and we're like, okay, and then like the next day they're like, it's a support animal puppy, and I'm like, okay, well,
Can't say
enjoy.
no to that.
Yeah, no,
But you take a pet deposit, though.
yeah. I think so.
So you're lenient on pets?
No. So if the older stuff, it's pets, and then newer stuff, like I'm avoiding pets until like I'm probably letting pets before I'm reducing rent. You know what I mean? But I'm not starting like nothing gets pets that's newer. But we still have some places that are due for some love, but they have those ones, all the pet ones.
I have one landlord client that free cats because he's like, it'll save you on the extermination bills for mice.
So that's funny because I think Liza's like into that cats on the mice properties.
Have you
Yeah.
had to kick anybody out, like legally go through some sort of horror show?
No, I have been sued or threatened to be sued, and then we just settled. And then I had this one place, and I sold this property because I just couldn't, it was like, there's a neighbor's property that had like rodent issues. And as hard as I tried, I couldn't stop mice from getting in this place. Like we did everything. And like the tenant just kept complaining. So like I was just at like a stalemate where she wanted to like leave, but I didn't want her to leave. But she like, and this is the thing, I used to not have rental licenses. You should have all your rental licenses. That's important. But like she called me out on not having a rental license. So I was like, all right, go ahead, keep it leave. Yeah, right. I could have got her cat. She had I think she already had a dog, but the other time was like I let somebody rent something, and they told me they were going to sublease it as an Airbnb, and I put in the lease like I'm not I'm just renting you this place. Whatever you do with Airbnb, like I don't care. And like there's a roof leak, and if you have like a roof leak in a long-term tenant, it's not a big deal because things happen, you understand, and you could get it fixed. But if you're running an Airbnb and they're only staying there for a night and your roof is leaking, they're complaining and they're getting a refund. So like this leak, it rained, must have rained for like 4 or 5 days straight. So like I couldn't get up there, and then it takes me it took longer than you would want it to if you're running an Airbnb and he's losing all his income and he's mad at me, and that was just like a whole mess. But that's the only. Someone, I forget who it was, said like you're doing something wrong if you're not getting sued, which like it's horrible.
So somebody starting, would you advise the Airbnb route or just regular standard, 12 months?
So my Airbnb strategy was it has to rent long term. If it rents long term, then I'll go the Airbnb route. So that way, if it doesn't work, I can just step back. And that's the same thing with like buying properties and like from like a developing standpoint, like what can you do with it in its existing footprint and like buy right? Does that make it attractive? If yes, then like go for the gold on it. Again, because like if you don't get approvals on that stuff and you have to backtrack, or like you're going to be exposed if that's like the Plan Z thing again.
With all the new regulations with the Airbnb, is it worth it to like take that chance with the tenant doing that? Because don't you have to get like hotel licenses now to get all those inspections?
I don't have any Airbnbs, and again, I would make sure I wouldn't buy it unless you're happy with a long-term tenant. So that way, if you come across those things, you can just be like, forget it. It's funny because I don't necessarily think of myself as like a very conservative person, and I'm slightly maybe impulsive sometimes, or more used to be. But like when it comes to this stuff, like I need to be able to land on my feet if the bottom falls out. So that's how I think about that stuff. And like we're leveraged, but then like my cheapest mortgage payment is my house, because if everything else falls apart, real estate, I want to just be able to get a job at Shake Shack and still survive.
Is there like a percentage, like an average percent of equity that you like have in your properties?
You can't get more than 80 really, you know? So I think across our whole portfolio, we're like 55, 65%. And if you think about it, that's leaving a lot of money on the sidelines across the whole portfolio that we could be going further. But like, rain keeps me up at night because I'm just wondering what roof is leaking. But like, I'm never really worried about like, again, I think I'm going about it slowly, but I'm not really, I'm not like afraid of tomorrow at all.
So kind of to add to his question, when you're evaluating a deal, do you just go in bright and just do a quick closing calls and say this looks great, or do you have like a spreadsheet that evaluates?
I have a whole spreadsheet, but I think I know if it's a good deal or not before I get to the spreadsheet. So it's projected rent times 12 times 75% times divided by the acquisition cost, which is the purchase price times 1.5%, and then I divide those and I see what the rate is, and if I'm like, this is good or bad. And then I always use a Zillow mortgage calculator app. So like, then I'll take the, cash on cash return, but I like to just write it all out, or I'm like on my phone calculator. And then if I like it, then I'll go play with the pro forma and like kind of dig into it more. And also, if I like it, maybe I'll do 80% as operating expenses because I want it to work.
But you don't have to write off the investment.
No, yeah, right. Yeah.
So we hear it every week from successful investors that it always has to feel good. You'd rather have an empty place for a month and wait for the right tenant. Everything always feels good to you, and I do like your suggestions. But with reference to you living downtown, and then now you live out here. I love where I live right now, but I also live downtown for a long time. If one of those two were to just vanish, would you not miss, like which one would you not miss? And just say, I don't care.
Like where I live?
No, as far as the city and then Ardmore. Is there something very clear about how one
I mean, I'd probably lean into the city over Ardmore, just because I think that it's just denser. It's gonna I mean, I think Ardmore is. I don't think that's a scenario that's gonna like be a reality. But I think that if you look at the market, yeah.
It's not Devil's Pocket or
Yeah. Round Bottom. Graduate. Grace Ferry, yeah. But no, like if you looked at like the market on like I'm not gonna even describe that anyone's gonna follow me, right? Like if it's like a circular linear scale, right? And like the center nucleus is like the thriving point, and then as you go further out, you're heading towards like a Graduate Hospital, Grace Ferry, or like Fairmount and Brewery Town. If it's Fairmount, then it's like Brewery Town. When the market is not great or in the less favorable for how you desire it, that circle contracts, So if you're buying here versus if you're buying out here, as that circle contracts, you're no longer in that circle anymore, So I look at like city density as if you're looking at the whole greater metropolitan Philadelphia area, maybe Ardmore is contracting before the city is. But I really don't think they're like Ardmore would be a nucleus and part of the city would be a nucleus too. And you can look at that as like, you can pinpoint that circle and that radius for one neighborhood in the peripheral neighborhoods, for the city and peripheral neighborhoods, or from like the greater Philly area. So like, I think I just went on a tangent for your answer, but I don't think it.
But to really look down, you feel more comfortable in the city because of the density and the amount of demand.
Kind of, but I think Ambler is great, because you have a train right there and you can get back into the city. I think transit driven is important too. And what makes Ardmore unique right now in the suburbs is it has a great walkability. I looked at properties in Narberth, I think, like, if you're close to train or public transportation, I just think that's important. Yeah.
How are you protected? I may have missed it. Like, is everything in an LLC except for your primary residence where you're living, or God forbid, some
Yeah.
major catastrophe happened? How are you protected?
Everything under 3 units is in my name. Which is that, I don't know how many it is, but like, and then bigger things are in LLCs. And I have just like an umbrella policy.
Okay.
And then every place has like like a loan, like their own insurance, and then I just have a whole sweeping umbrella policy for everything. Yeah.
So your bigger projects, each one has its own LLC?
Yep.
How do you handle like reserves and, I guess where does the money come from and then like the capital expenditure?
So LLCs all have their own bank accounts. The single families run out of like one checking account, and then I keep, I try and keep reserves in each. I don't pay. I escrow all my own taxes and insurance. So I don't let the bank do that because that's like a racket. So I pull all that aside and I have a separate account where all the taxes are saved. And honestly, I think we could probably clean up our back end like banking operations a little bit. Like I think each individual property. This is like something I want to do, but I'll do it in like 5 years. I don't know. But like each individual property should have a reserve of X amount of dollars in an account, and everything over that should be pulled to a general operating account and separate from the savings and the escrow account for taxes and insurance and savings. But I don't think you should escrow your money with the bank because they're charging you X%, but then they're just taking your money at 0%. It's not fair.
But don't they require you to know escrow funds, or
if
it's not the high loan balance?
The loan originator does, but like usually the servicer doesn't. So like if you're going to like a guaranteed rate or wherever they're selling, like the loan originators want you to, like the month after you close, just call up the bank and take it off. They can't make you do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And but the thing is, if you get your loan without escrowing, they'll charge you a higher interest rate. But if you get your loan with the escrow and then a month later call and pull it out, it doesn't change.
Okay.
If you take one thing away.
When you do that, so you get interest on the.
No, so yeah, so then I escrow myself and I put it in a savings account and I collect the interest instead of the bank. And I pay it, they basically just hold that money until it's due at the end of the year,
But they're using it.
Right, yeah, they're collecting interest or they're giving it to other people. So like, I want to do that. Yeah. Yeah.
That brings us right on time at 12 o'clock. This is helpful, guys?
Yes.
Justin, stay around for I heard Mike made lunch.
All right. Hey, what's going on?
Nice job.
Thanks.
That's good.
Yeah.